Well, we thought there might be a deal this week in Jeff City with the legislative session wrapping up in Missouri, but it was not meant to be. So the Royals and the Chiefs, of course, House passing a deal to basically subsidize tens of millions of dollars for both of these teams to stay in the state of Missouri. It passed the House. It did not end up getting through the Missouri Senate. In fact, it was never taken up. Mike Cierpot, a longtime, of course, state senator here in Jackson County, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming, as always, at kcmotalkradio.com. Mike, good morning. Great to have you on the show. So why did this Royals-Chiefs deal never make it to even a debate in the state Senate?
Good morning, Pete. I just think this year with Prop A and Amendment 3 from last November being such a hot topic, I just think it was too late, and it just never got traction. It was overwhelmed by the other two issues.
And remind people those other two issues and what happened with them here.
Okay, the Prop A is the one that was put on the ballot by a lot of outstate money to increase the minimum wage, which we still have, and to provide paid sick leave for employees, which sounds very good, but the details of the law were much more onerous for small businesses. And so we had to look at that. And the other thing is the Amendment 3, which was the abortion amendment that passed last year by 1.6%. We're doing something to address that.
So you think that those things, but here's the thing, you guys could have stayed in session until Friday at 6 p.m. and you adjourned early. So why not just handle it that way and use the rest of the time this week to address this other stuff?
Well, the Democrats had made it clear that if we came back today, they would just take up time to give floor speeches about how unfair we were. And it didn't seem that it would be productive at all to go the last 2 days because I don't think we would have got anything accomplished, and it just would have made probably tempers a little hotter. I think it was a good call to shut it down.
Okay, so because they were upset on how you guys handled the Prop A deal and the Amendment 3 issue on abortion, they were not going to even consider the Chiefs-Royals thing.
No, it was not, because I think the Chiefs-Royals thing has got problem in the Republican caucus as well. But we wouldn't have made any progress on that at all. No, I think that issue would have been overwhelmed just by the anger the last 2 days.
Ah, okay. So what about, I also heard some things over the last couple of days that basically this House Bill 19, which is about $500 million in infrastructure funding that you guys had passed on the Senate side, went back to the House. They never took up. That bothered a lot of Senate folks as well, and they were basically thumbing their nose back at the House and saying, if you guys couldn't get this $500 million in infrastructure done for the state, why are we suddenly going to rush to pass this bill for the Royals and the Chiefs that you guys want us to pass? How much was that at play?
I think that was a small part of it, but I think the other part was much more dominant as far as the outcome.
Okay, so then what happened with the abortion issue in particular? That is now going to go back to the ballot, so Missourians are going to have to vote on that issue again next year?
Yes, it will. And what we're trying to do is give people another look at it because, quite frankly, Pete, I was really surprised that it only passed by 1.6%. I was expecting a 58 or 59% passage the way it was worded. And so that gives me a great deal of hope that Missouri is pro-life. And I think if people given a next option with the exceptions that we should have done back with the heartbeat bill, with them now on the ballot, I think that will make it much more likely to pass. And I think it will be more reflective of where most Missourians are on the life issue.
Mike Cierpot is here, Missouri State Senator on KCMO Talk Radio. What happened? I saw, and my phone started blowing up, you gave quite a speech on the Senate floor where you lambasted Missouri Right to Life. What happened there?
Well, Missouri Right to Life, I'll tell you the truth, we passed this ballot measure in spite of them, not with them, because they are a very divisive group down here. The Missouri legislature is pro-life, strongly pro-life, not because of MRL, Missouri Right to Life, but because of the issue itself. And Susan Klein and the people that lead that, and when I talk about MRL, I'm not talking about the people back home writing them checks, because those folks are wonderful. They're the reason we've made progress on this issue over the years. But the leadership of MRL is what put us here. When we did the heartbeat bill back in 18 or 19, which effectively banned abortion, waiting on Roe to be overturned, If we would have put the incest and rape exception in then, which MRL would not let happen, Amendment 3 would have never passed. We would never be here. MRL is actually the reason we are the most pro-abortion state in the nation now, because of what they did 5-6 years ago.
So because Missouri Right to Life did not want to have a rape incest carve-out, you think that's why Amendment 3 was even a thing last year, and that's why now abortion is much more available in Missouri than it was before the vote last year?
Exactly.
Wow. So that's a group that a lot of Missourians, especially conservative Missourians, like and appreciate. But you're saying they're not really accomplishing, or they're not doing what they should be doing down there in Jeff City. They
are not. They look at these little issues to have tripwires that they can bash people for, just like in our gubernatorial race last year. We had 3 people running: Mike Kehoe, Bill Eigel, and Jay Ashcroft. All 3 are pro-life, obviously. They endorsed Jay Ashcroft, who had never voted on anything on the pro-life issue, and they snubbed Bill Eigel, who everybody knows is not a friend of mine, but he has been a very strong pro-life advocate. And they also snubbed Mike Kehoe, who's the same. Has been a pro-life advocate for a long time, and they ignored them both. They did that in a lot of Senate races on people. They actually would not endorse people like me who voted for the heartbeat bill over the stupid FRA thing that we talked about before, and the 6-2 or 7-1 maps. That's how misguided they are. They cause brush fires down here while the whole state is burning down over abortion.
Wow. So, Mike Cierpot, what happens next? Obviously, Chiefs and Royals are right here in your backyard. Do you want there to be a special session to look at this again next month?
I think we probably should have one, but I think maybe we should wait a while to let tempers cool a little bit. And I know I've heard about the Democrats saying they're going to blow everything up. But quite honestly, I understand they're being upset about this. I respect the Senate a great deal, and I really think this should be a regularly used tool. This is the first time. I didn't sign it for the Prop A part, but I did sign it for Amendment 3 for the abortion stuff. And I think once cooler heads prevail, maybe we'll make some progress. Because quite honestly, keeping the Royals and Chiefs in Kansas City, I know 3 Democrats that represent Kansas City, and at some point the community is much more important than being mad about what goes on in the Senate.
And what needs to happen to get that special session to take place next month?
The governor has to call it, and he'll put out the call, and it's good because he can limit how much we can look at. We can't just open it up for everything. He can limit it to just the Chiefs, Royals, and House Bill 19 if he wants to. I think he might, what I've heard from folks, but like I said, waiting 2 or 3 months on this, or maybe waiting till veto session, depending on what the Chiefs and Royals, I don't know what kind of timeline, because I know Jackson County has got to pass that 3/8 sales tax again to even be in play. So I think we have time to look at that, and hopefully for tempers to cool a little bit.
Well, the Kansas side of the state line, their Star Bond offer wraps up at the end of June. So they may want you guys to have an answer next month. Do you think that's feasible?
No, I don't think it's feasible at all. And tell you the truth, Pete, I've looked at that Star Bond offer. I don't know how they could ever pull that off. Raise the kind of money they need to raise, unless they make the entire state the taxing district. And I still don't know how they do it. To raise $1 billion at 1 cent sales tax takes about $100 billion. So I don't know how they'll do it.
Well, I got to imagine that's part of what the team is thinking right now, too. But they could. You can. I confirmed this on the Kansas side. You could theoretically make the entire state a Star Bond district.
You could. And I'm curious to see if the whole state would pay another 1 cent for people out in Hays, Kansas will pay a 1 cent sales tax for a team over in the Kansas City area.
Well, but they would tell you it's not additional taxes, right? It's just the revenue over the current number, and then those additional sales tax revenues would be kicking back in to pay off the bonds.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. I know when they came up with that a year ago, in my mind, I'm like, I just don't see how that would ever work, but they could prove me wrong.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So you're saying probably looking at the fall for a special session?
Maybe sometimes, since I've been down here, sometimes when specials are required, they align them with veto session, which is in September.
Okay.
Something like that. We'll see how that goes. I can't. I'm just telling you what I've been hearing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mike Cierpot, thanks for all the work you're doing. We appreciate you hopping on the show.
Thanks, Pete. Anytime.
All right. Mike Cierpot, Jackson County State Senator on KCMO Talk Radio.